All right, we're gonna move on to our next topic, and it's gonna be my topic. And basically, my topic is after watching Daredevil, and some of these movies and whatnot. Regardless of the expanded universe that Marvel is doing such a good job of doing in their cinematic universe, I am still convinced after watching Daredevil that Spider-Man and Batman should be serialized and should not. The main focus should not be movies. It should actually be an HBO or Netflix season of 13 or so episodes. Daredevil has like the thing is like Daredevil is doing so well with so little, and like arguably the Flash and Green Arrow are too. You see arcs, you see progression that the comics really have. There's decades of stories for these characters, and like a comic comes out once a month maybe, and multiple versions of that comic. So let's just round to like 3, right, on average for Spider-Man and Batman. 3 comics a month, 3 times 12 is 33 stories a year. We're talking over the course of 30 years. So what is that, like 900 and some 1,000 stories? We're talking about 1,000 plus stories of these characters, right? Not including novels and one-offs and all this stuff. How are we supposed to get like a sense of like the true like what we've learned to expect the character of who he was and what he's been doing and who he is now over the course of 1,000 stories in 3 movies? You can't, and you can't even do villains justice. Like the Joker has these one shot 40 minutes of screen time, and then he's gone for another 5 years. It's like, nah, man, look, the Joker does more than just this like burn money and like torture Batman and maybe like kidnap Gordon. He has shot Barbara Gordon, paralyzed her. He's killed a Robin. He is like manipulated Batman's like family. He's like hurt Alfred. He's done all of these things, and like to do it justice, you need multiple episodes and multiple stories, and like the best way to do that is through like a serialization. And case in point, they've done this with Batman animated series, and it is like one of the best, not only for its style and for its voice acting and for its animation, but because it was able to tell Batman's story correctly. And I just don't think you could do that in a movie. And the Dark Knight trilogy, Nolan's trilogy, like albeit, was really great and set a standard for a lot of superhero movies, but I just don't think that it belongs in that form, or at least not prioritized. Like, I'm not saying we shouldn't have these movies, but we shouldn't have a serialized version of this either. Like, there's this notion, and what I'm suggesting is never going to happen, because the fact of the matter is these companies are in it for the money, and the way you make money is making movies. Like Daredevil, Netflix, as great as it is, will never come close to a multi-million-dollar budget, multi-million-dollar grossing movie that is The Dark Knight Rises or whatever. Yeah. So that sucks. But what they're also doing is they're not making why can't we we're about to go into a world where you have The Flash on CW serialized, because it has seasons and multiple episodes, and we're also going to have the Flash movie. Why can't we have both with Batman, and why can't we have both with Spider-Man? Like, I don't know if you guys watched Daredevil or Jessica Jones, but I just, am filled with glee and, giddiness when I'm watching this show, because they understand the characters, they're doing such a great job telling the stories, and the character arcs of all the different characters and the relationships and how they bloom and how they get destroyed and how they evolve is just so much fun to watch, because you're literally watching your childhood comic book stories come to life, and it's so gratifying, and you do not get this in a movie. You just don't.
Well, let me ask you this: who would you like to pick that up at, like an HBO or Showtime, or like actual just regular
AMC, HBO, or Netflix?
Well, I'm saying because HBO and everything like that can go a little bit more mature audience,
right? Yeah,
or bigger budget.
I like bigger budget. That's the thing I'm more worried about, is because I've seen the Flash. Like, Flash is one of my favorite comic book characters, and I've seen that CW one. I'm like this seems so kind of I wouldn't say cliche, and his suit kind of looks weird. Like, it's like they have no budget.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Compared to a movie, I'm guessing
totally. Yeah, compared to a movie, that's what I'm saying. That's why I couldn't really get into it, because I'm like the person that likes the the whole graphics and the cool suits and the high budget stuff like that, the stuff that's detail. But if you're saying it's got a good storyline, then yeah, I'm totally into it, because I mean, Rocco really was a big fan of like Smallville, and like he got me into it a little bit. And then like after the first season, I'm like, dude, it's like the same episode over and over again. Like, oh, this weird thing comes out. My favorite episode though from that was when he met the Flash, and it was pretty cool. Like that episode, I can keep watching that one.
That kid with the hood.
Characters. Yeah, Kid with the Hood or something like that. But I thought that was a pretty funny episode.
So I watched Smallville, and I will say that Smallville doesn't hold a candle to the CGI effects in Flash or the story and dialogue in Flash. But with that said, Flash is, at the end of the day, a cable show. It is going to have a budget. It's going to have a ceiling on the acting abilities and chops that the actors that they hire. Mm-hmm. Like, you can only go so far. Whereas HBO and Netflix, I mean, they're getting top-notch people. They're, like the AMC's, this second tier, this HBO-styled show can really get great acting, great stories, and they can do it right. So
like Game of Thrones was awesome.
Exactly.
It is awesome.
And I'm not saying, and like a lot of these examples are gritty, dark shows, but Batman certainly falls into the genre. But I mean, look at what HBO's done in their comedy sector, like Veep and all this stuff. Like they can make a lighthearted show as well. Spider-Man absolutely can belong there because look, the new Spider-Man reboot's going to come out for the fucking 50th time, right?
I'm sick of Spider-Man.
I know you are. And like they have a big problem. Like they can't do goblins. They've done goblins twice, but the thing is that Norman Osborn, he's a pivotal part of the Spider-Man universe. Gwen Stacy is a pivotal part. Mary Jane is too, and they're thinking about not casting these guys because they've just casted them twice now in a row. But like, it's more than just Mary Jane in a movie and she's maybe gonna marry him or not. It's more than Gwen Stacy. Like, they did it right with that Gwen Stacy arc over the two movies, but imagine what they could do with Gwen Stacy, Mary Jane, all these other characters that Peter is involved with a relationship leading up to her death. Like, there's a lot of like good meat there, and they started to do that with the animated Spectacular Spider-Man, which was a great show because they took on this like long arc style. They knew they were going to have multiple seasons, and so they could really build.
Like that's what I've been hoping for like with X-Men. I think X-Men would be a great HBO thing because you see the character progression, and like it's almost kind of like watching Batman because I started watching Batman the original animated series like you were telling me to play, and I love it. Like I'm like, this is really cool. You know what I mean? Like you get to see the gadgets and just like like you get to meet every single like villain. Like you're like, oh shit, I didn't even know about this Bat guy. Like he was like a Jekyll and Hyde Bat. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
And he's facing Batman himself. So like I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool. But I think that would be great in like a series type thing.
Because you're never gonna have a movie that's Batman and Man-Bat. You just won't. But you can have multiple stories of Man-Bat within the Batman like serialized universe.
Man-Bat is his name?
Yeah, man. It's like a dude who like injects bat serums into him. It's like the Lizard for Spider-Man, but he becomes like this man, like this giant bat, flying bat, and he's terrorizing Gotham. And a lot of people think it's the Batman, but it's not, right? And so Batman tries to stop it. He's got to do a lot of detective work. Like you don't know who it is. Is it the guy who owns the chemical? Is it one of the scientists?
That's the part I like. The detective work. I like the detective work. It's like it's not just like, hey, I'm gonna come in and just beat the crap out of everybody. It's like it's like a climax thing.
And they do it. They do it a lot in there. And like, dude, Penguin has an arc. He becomes like, you know what I mean? And like Mr. Freeze
Penguin's the best
and
one.
Like, so they could do it. They could just do all this stuff. And Gotham kind of has that. But like Gotham, this is why I get so mad at Gotham because Gotham's trying to be like. It just feels like WB is like, look, you can make whatever you want, but you can't make a Superman show and you can't make a Batman show. Or you can make a Superman show, but it can't be about when Superman's Superman. It could be about when he's a kid. And yeah, you can make a Batman show, but you can't have Batman in it. You can have a kid, Bruce Wayne, but you can't have Batman. Right. And it's like, okay, fine, we'll make a show about Gordon when he's young. And it's like, hey, look, we're getting into writer's block, and we're failing to write stories, and quite frankly, the ratings aren't there. What do? Put the Joker in there. Put the Joker in when he was a kid. Just do it. We need faces. Put two faces in there. Just put them in. And it's like, what is happening? Everybody knows each other. Like, what is this? Like, it just falls apart. And so, like, and it's because I just feel like WB does not want to do a live action Batman serialized show because they're like afraid that it will take away from the Batman movies. But I don't care. I'll watch both. Like, you'll get both. And anyway, this is my rant. Like, I want them to make a Batman serialized show. Woosah. Backdoor. So that's it. That's the topic. If you guys have anything else on top of that,
I like it.
No, I definitely like it. I like
like
your insight. I mean, you definitely are more passionate about it than me. I'm just sick of seeing fucking Spider-Man. They've done how many movies and they all seem the same and they just get different actors
Yeah.
and just a little bit of different graphics,
speaking
pretty
of
much.
that,
So,
I want to see how that Batman vs Superman movie did. I didn't even see
I
that.
might be seeing it today. Do you? I
Yeah.
feel confident. I agree with you, Ian. And if Sony was behind the next Spider-Man reboot, I would not even bother. But with Marvel taking over, I do feel confident. Like this is kind of the last shot, but I feel like they can do it. If anybody can make Spider-Man like survive these endless reboots and terrible writings and bad movies, it's Marvel.
well, how did Sony
Dude.
get a hold of Spider-Man? Like, how did that all come about?
So Marvel was dead broke and bankrupt in like the 90s, in the early 90s,
Okay.
mid 90s, and in order to not go bank, like we were like in an alternate universe, these deals didn't happen and Marvel ceases to be. Spider-Man, like all this, like the rights are gone. They're not making comic books anymore because they're this fucking broke. In order to save themselves, they sold the rights to Spider-Man, Fantastic Four, The Punisher, Daredevil, and X-Men to various movie publishers, including Sony
Yeah.
and Fox. Universal had some stuff too, and so Sony owned the rights, dirt cheap, mind you, forever. Like
Yeah.
they're like, look, you can make forever movies and just give us some money so that we can like withstand this, and you'll have the rights forever. And so Fox has X-Men and Sony has Spider-Man, and they started making movies. And the first Spider-Man was great, second one meh, third one was terrible, and they started probably seeing that they're gonna lose money. They rebooted, and they started like I think the one condition was like you have to make a movie every 3 years or something. If you don't make every 3 years, Marvel gets the rights back. And that's why
Oh, shit.
that's why the Amazing Spider-Man, the reboot, was done so quickly, is because they were in production for Spider-Man 4. That Sam Raimi dropped out, so they had lost a good chunk, maybe a year, and then they only had about a year and a half to hit that quota mark before the rights would go back to Marvel. And at this point, Marvel had started coming out with Iron Man and Avengers, like kind of, and they were starting to make bank, and they were like really starting to like get on a roll. So Sony didn't want to lose this cash cow, but unfortunately, they like in haste rebooted unsuccessfully, I would argue, and probably started losing money. And so Marvel was like, "Look, we're doing this right. We know how to make superhero movies. Give us the rights." And Sony's like, "No, this is a cash cow. We're not going to do that." And Marvel's like, "Look, you're failing. Please, we'll do anything. Like, let's work together on this." Sony was like, "No, no fucking way." And then finally, Marvel's like, "Look, here's what we'll do. You allow us to control the creative rights to this character. You guys will publish and get the money from the publishing. We won't publish, but we just get creative control over it." And they were like, "Fine, sure." And so now Spider-Man gets to go into Avengers movies, Iron Man movies, all the other movies that Marvel actually owns, and Sony will reap the benefits from it.
Yeah, I mean, and see,
Are you
and
a
that
huge
makes everyone happy.
Spider-Man?
I'm sorry?
I was gonna say, are you a huge Spider-Man fan?
Yeah, I was.
Can I ask you something? What's the deal? What's the deal? Because I've been watching a lot of like things on Spider-Man and everything. Everyone's loving like the costumes. They're saying that like people are putting so much emphasis on the costumes like that they're doing. They're saying that, like the very first one that they did with like Tobey Maguire sucked because the logo was too small on the chest. The way they did the eyes and everything like that. Then when they got to the Amazing Spider-Man, they said that they liked it a little bit more. It was starting like
Yeah.
the webbing was too 3D, or like they're all saying like this and everything.
Yeah, I'd say the second
But they're
Amazing
saying
Spider-Man
that
nailed
the newer
costume.
one,
Yeah, the newer one.
yeah, that's what they're saying. Yeah, but they're saying the newer one they liked a lot more too. But they went back to the small logo on the chest or something. They're starting to say.
Yeah, so again, Marvel just knows their properties the best out of anybody, and the reason why you're seeing the costume the way it is because they're going back. The first time we see a character, it always equates to the first costume and like character's mentality that it was introduced for the first like comic introduction, right? So the first time we see Iron Man is he's Tony Stark, he's not Iron Man, and the first Iron Man suit we see is not the Iron Man suit that we've seen in today 2016. It's the Iron Man suit that was created back in 1930s. and they slowly worked their way up.
Yeah.
Even Iron Man 2 had an Iron Man that was like in the 80s or 70s. Like it still wasn't, and they still aren't. Like just so you guys know, they're still in like early 2000s Iron Man suits. Like they still have catching up to do, and it's amazing for a comic book nerd because you want to see those versions that you like lived
progression.
with. Yeah, exactly. So what they're doing with Spider-Man is going back to the Steve Ditko, Stan Lee days when he was first created, and if you look at what that costume looks like now and what that costume looked like back then, is it's very, very, very similar. The eyes are smaller.
I love the eyes.
Yeah. Oh, how they like
I
squint.
love mechanical eyes.
Yeah.
Dude, I love that, and I love that they have the mechanical web shooters. That's the way it's supposed to be.
Yep.
Like I hated the whole Tobey Maguire shoot out of your wrist thing. Like that was weird.
Yeah, and that's because that's Sony and another director taking liberties and not having Marvel be on the back end being like, no, you can't do that. Like this is how it has to be, because like as stupid as that is, like there's a reason why these comic book fans want to go to the movies. Like it's not because we want to see your interpretation. No, motherfucker, we want to see the interpretation we've grown to love, and we just want to see a live action version of this. This is as simple as it is, and they overcomplicate it, and they're like, well, we don't have time to talk about the web shooters, so instead we're just gonna go organic. And it's like, nope, sorry, that's not how it is. That's not how it goes.
Fuck yourself.
Yeah, so yeah, mechanical web shooters, as silly as it is really important. We want to see that. So
I want to see a love story 3 different ways, 3 different times.
no, you don't.
Imagine if HBO got a hold of that love story.
Oh god. Well, I mean, but they would do it classy. They would do it right. Like
sure.
Anyway.
Yeah, maybe like.
Anyway, great questions, great topics.
Would he shoot the webs out of his hands at the end?
Just like webbing everywhere.
Yeah.
All right, we're gonna go to.
Hey, am I blurry to you guys? Because you guys are blurry to me for some reason.
No.
No.
You just need context.
That's just me.